Park was drinking cold coffee when he saw it. The numbers on his screen made no sense at first. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The objects were real. They were big, and they were coming toward Earth very fast. He worked at the Korean Aerospace Research Institute, a small building filled with computers and telescopes and people who loved the stars. For 15 years had watched the sky. He had seen comets and asteroids and satellites, but he had never seen anything like this. There were 12 objects. Each one was larger than a mountain. They moved in perfect formation, slowing down as they approached the solar system. No asteroid moved like that. No natural object could change its speed with such control. Picked up his phone and called his colleague. She answered on the second ring, her voice sleepy and confused. It was 3 in the morning. "Come to the lab," said. His voice was shaking. "Right now, do not ask questions." Arrived 20 minutes later, her hair still messy from sleep. She looked at its data for a long time without speaking. Then she sat down slowly, her face pale. "This is real," she whispered. "This is actually real." Within hours, the news spread to governments around the world. Emergency meetings began in every major capital. Military leaders gathered in secure rooms. Scientists argued about what the objects might be, but deep down, everyone knew the truth. These were ships. Someone was coming to visit Earth. The visitors made contact 3 days later. Every television and radio and phone on Earth received the same message at the same moment. The voice was strange and clicking, but the words were clear. They had learned human languages somehow. "We are the Empire. We have conquered 17 star systems. Your world is now ours. You will surrender in 72 hours or you will be destroyed. There is no negotiation. There is no escape. Submit and serve or die." The message ended. Silence covered the world. In Seoul, Defense Minister Lee called an emergency council. The meeting room was filled with generals and scientists and politicians, all of them scared, all of them trying to hide it. Large screens showed satellite images of the alien fleet. The ships hung in orbit like metal monsters, blocking out the stars. "What do we know about them?" asked. General Han stood up. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in many battles, but never against something like this. "Very little," Han admitted. "Their ships are massive. Their weapons are unknown. We have no idea how many soldiers they carry or what they look like. We are completely blind." A young woman raised her hand. Her name was an atmospheric physicist. She was not supposed to speak at military meetings, but something had caught her attention. "I noticed something in their transmission," she said carefully. "They sent technical data about their ships, maybe to show off their power, but I saw something interesting." She walked to the main screen and pulled up the data. Numbers and diagrams filled the display. "Their ships maintain internal pressure at about 0.3 atmospheres, explained. "That is less than 1/3 of Earth's normal air pressure. There must have very thin air like the top of our highest mountains, maybe even thinner." The room was quiet. General Han leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "What does that mean for us?" he asked. Hesitated. "I am not sure. But if their bodies are built for low pressure, then our atmosphere might be very uncomfortable for them, maybe even dangerous." Nobody knew what to say. It seemed like such a small thing. Air pressure. How could that matter against ships the size of mountains? Meanwhile, in homes and cities across the world, people waited. Some prayed. Some cried. Some held their families close and tried to be brave. The 72-hour deadline felt like a death sentence. Ambassador watched the chaos from her office window. She was 50 years old with short gray hair and a face that showed no fear. Before becoming a diplomat, she had served in the special forces. She had faced death many times, but this was different. This was not just her life at stake. It was everyone. Her phone rang. It was Minister. "We are sending a delegation to meet them," he said. "They have agreed to land near tomorrow. We need someone who will not break under pressure, someone who can look monsters in the eye without flinching." "Understood, you want me to go." "Will you?" She looked out the window at the city below. Millions of people, living their lives, hopping for a tomorrow that might never come. She thought about her daughter, the small apartment where she grew up. "Yes," she said, "I will go." The next morning, the world watched as a single alien descended from orbit. It was black and angular, like something designed to cause fear. It landed in an empty field outside, burning the grass beneath it. Walked toward the ship with a small group of officials and scientists. Among them was Dr. Bay, who had spent his whole life dreaming of meeting alien life. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were bright with wonder. "Whatever happens," whispered, "this is the most important moment in human history." The ship's door opened with a hiss of escaping air. Strange fog poured out, cold and thin, and then they appeared. There were insects. That was the only word that fit. They stood 3 meters tall on 6 powerful legs. Their bodies were covered in dark, shiny exoskeletons that looked stronger than steel. Their heads were triangular, with dozens of small eyes and large mandibles that clicked as they moved. They wore armor over their natural shells, decorated with symbols of their conquered worlds. Commander led them. He was the largest, his exoskeleton covered with scars from old battles. He looked down at the humans like they were ants beneath his feet. "Small creatures," he said through his translator. "Soft bodies, weak bones. You will make acceptable workers in our mines. Those who cannot work will be processed for protein." Did not flinch. She stood straight and met the alien's many eyes. "We would like to discuss terms," she said calmly. Made a sound that might have been laughter. His mandibles clicked together rapidly. "There are no terms, only submission." Behind, a young warrior stepped forward. He was eager to show his dominance, to make the humans afraid. Without warning, he reached up and cracked open his helmet seal. He wanted them to smell his war pheromones. He wanted them to know true fear. What happened next changed everything. The young warrior had won many battles. His name was, and he was proud of his strength. His exoskeleton had never been broken. His enemies had always fallen before him. When he looked at the small, soft human standing in front of him, he felt only disgust. He wanted to show them what true power looked like. He wanted them to smell his victory scent, the pheromones that made weaker creatures freeze with terror. So he cracked open his helmet seal, letting the thin ship air escape. Earth's atmosphere rushed in. The effect was immediate and terrible. Felt the air push against him like a giant hand. It was heavy, so impossibly heavy. His spiracles, the small holes in his body that let him breathe, suddenly filled with thick, rich air. It was like trying to drink from a waterfall. Then his exoskeleton began to crack. The sound was horrible, like breaking bones but louder. Joints, designed for a world with thin air, could not handle the pressure. His leg segments buckled. His chest plate split along lines that had never been tested. He tried to scream, but his mandibles would not move properly. He collapsed to the ground, his body breaking apart from the inside. His many eyes went dark one by one. The human stood frozen, watching in shock. Dr. Bay felt his scientific mind racing even as his stomach turned at the sight. The alien was dying right in front of them, killed by nothing but air. Commander screamed orders in his clicking language. His soldiers rushed forward, grabbing his broken body and dragging him back toward the ship. They moved fast, their earlier confidence completely gone. Himself backed away from the humans, his many eyes showing something they had never shown before. Fear. The diplomatic meeting ended in chaos. They sealed their ship and launched back into orbit within minutes. They left without another word. Ambassador stood in the burned grass, watching the ship disappear into the sky. Her heart was beating fast, but her face remained calm. Beside her was speaking rapidly into his phone, calling every scientist he knew. "Did you see that?" he was saying. "Their exoskeletons collapsed. The pressure, our normal air pressure crushed him. They cannot survive here. They physically cannot survive on Earth." The news spread quickly. Within hours, researchers around the world were studying the data. Videos of the incident played on every news channel. Scientists who had spent their lives studying insects and crustaceans suddenly became the most important people on the planet. In Seoul, Doctor led the research effort. She had not slept in 2 days, but her mind was sharp and focused. Cups of cold coffee covered her desk. Papers filled with calculations surrounded her computer. "Their exoskeletons work like crab shells," she explained to the emergency council. "They are very strong against blows and cuts, but they are not designed for pressure. On there, the air pushes with maybe 30 or 40 of force. Here on Earth, at sea level, the pressure is over 101. General Han listened carefully. "What does that mean in simple terms?" Thought for a moment. "Imagine if you went to the bottom of the ocean without a submarine. The water would crush you. For they standing on Earth is the same. Our normal air is like deep water to them. Their bodies simply break." The room was silent as everyone understood what this meant. The mighty empire, conquerors of 17 star systems, could not walk on Earth. Their soldiers, so terrifying in appearance, would die within minutes of breathing human air. Minister Lee spoke slowly. "So they cannot invade us on the ground." "No," confirmed. "They would need to stay in their suits and ships at all times. Any break in their protection would be fatal." Intelligence officer stood up. She was young, only 32, but she was brilliant at her job. She had been monitoring communication since they arrived. "I have intercepted their messages," she said. "They are panicking. Their command structure is in chaos. Some want to retreat immediately. Others want to destroy Earth from orbit. They cannot decide." General Han's eyes darkened. "Orbital bombardment. They cannot take our world, so they will burn it." "That is the danger," agreed. "If they decide we are not worth the trouble of conquering, they may simply destroy us from space. We would have no defense." The council fell into worried discussion. Yes, they could not walk on Earth, but their ships still hung in orbit, filled with weapons that could turn cities into ash. The humans had found hope, only to discover it came with a terrible deadline. Meanwhile, aboard the command ship, Commander was facing a crisis. The medical officers had confirmed the worst. Earth's atmosphere was poisonous to them, not because of its chemistry, but because of its weight. Prolonged exposure meant death. Even brief exposure caused permanent damage to their exoskeletons. "How is this possible?" demanded. "We have conquered worlds of fire and ice. We have survived radiation storms and gravity wells. How can simple air defeat us?" His science advisor, an old named, spoke carefully. "Commander, we evolved for thin atmospheres. Our bodies are perfect for but this planet is different. It is a heavy world, a crushing world. The creatures that live there have adapted to conditions we cannot survive." Looked at the blue planet on his screen. "So beautiful, so deadly." "Then we destroy it from here," he said. "Prepare the plasma batteries. If we cannot have this world, no one will." But raised a claw in caution. "Commander, the Empire wants this planet's resources, its water, its metals, its life forms. If we burn it, we return home with nothing. The High Council will not be pleased." Hesitated. His military instincts told him to destroy the threat, but his political sense warned him that failure meant death. The Empire did not accept excuses. Back on Earth, the humans were not waiting for to decide. General Han had called together the best military minds in the world. They gathered in a secure bunker, studying maps and data and satellite images. "We cannot wait for them to attack," Han said. "We must strike first." Pilot Shin stepped forward. He was 35 years old, with the confident eyes of someone who had spent his life flying faster than sound. He commanded a squadron of advanced fighters. the and most powerful aircraft ever built. Their ships are pressurized to their comfort level, said. That means their ships have the same weakness they do. If we can breach their hulls, Earth's air will do the rest. Engineer Moon nodded from her seat. She was a quiet woman who preferred machines to people, but her mind was incredible. She had already been working on something. I have an idea, she said. What if we do not try to blow up their ships? What if we inject our atmosphere into them? Like a poison but made of air. The room grew quiet as everyone understood what she was suggesting. They would use Earth itself as a weapon. The very air that humans breathed every day would become a tool of war. Han looked at with new respect. Can you build such a weapon? She smiled slightly. Give me 48 hours. The countdown had begun. Somewhere in orbit, they were deciding whether to destroy Earth. And somewhere on Earth, humans were building a weapon from the most common thing in the world. Moon had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and tired, but her hands were steady as she worked. The military base around her was filled with noise and movement, but she heard none of it. Her entire world had become the weapon on the table in front of her. She called it the pressure bomb. The design was simple in theory but difficult in practice. A strong metal shell would contain compressed air at extremely high pressure. When the bomb hit a ship, it would not explode with fire. Instead, it would crack open and release its contents. Earth air would rush into the alien vessel like water flooding a broken submarine. The problem is delivery, explained to General Han. Their ships have strong armor. Normal missiles bounce off. We need something that can pierce their hull and stay there long enough to release the payload. Han nodded slowly. What do you need? Time, materials, and pilots crazy enough to fly close enough to use these things. Across the base, Shin was gathering his squadron. They were the best pilots in Korea, maybe in the world. They had trained for years in the most advanced fighters ever built, but nothing had prepared them for this. We will be flying into the teeth of their fleet, told his pilots. Their weapons can turn our planes into dust. Their targeting systems are faster than anything we have seen. Many of us will not come back. The pilots stood in silence. They were scared. Only a fool would not be scared, but they were also determined. A young pilot named spoke up. She was only 28, the member of the squadron, but her flying skills were remarkable. Sir, she said, what are our chances? Looked at her honestly. Bad, maybe very bad, but if we do nothing the chances are 0. They will burn our world and everyone on it. Nodded, her fear did not disappear, but something stronger took its place. Purpose. While the military prepared for battle, Doctor continued her research. She wanted to understand everything about biology. Every weakness could save human lives. She worked with Dr. Bay, who had been studying the remains of the warrior. The body had been recovered after the failed diplomatic meeting. It was damaged and broken, but it still held secrets. Look at this, said, pointing to a scan of the exoskeleton. Their shells are made of layers like an onion, very strong against impact, but the layers are not sealed tightly. Air can push between them. Understood immediately. So when pressure increases, the layers separate. The structure fails from the inside. Exactly, and there is more. Pulled up another image. Their breathing system is completely different from ours. They do not have lungs. They have spiracles, small holes all over their body that absorb air directly. In thin atmosphere, this works perfectly, but in thick air like ours, they cannot control how much they take in. Finished. They drown in oxygen. This information was sent to immediately. She adjusted her bomb design to release air in pulses, creating maximum disruption inside the ships. In orbit, Commander had made his decision. He would not destroy Earth. Not yet. The Empire wanted this planet's resources, and he would not return home as a failure. Instead, he would find another way. We attack their leadership, he ordered. One precise strike on their capital cities. We kill their decision makers, then the rest will submit. His officers prepared the assault. 3 cruisers would descend low enough to fire on Earth's surface. They would move fast, strike hard, and return to the safety of space before the humans could respond. Intelligence officer intercepted the communications. She decoded their plans and sent an urgent warning to General Han. "They are coming," she reported. 3 cruisers, target cities, Seoul, Washington, and Beijing. Attack begins in 6 hours. Han felt the weight of the moment. 6 hours. That was all the time humanity had left. He called Ambassador, Minister Lee, and all the military commanders together. The plan was simple and desperate. They would meet the cruisers before they could reach the cities. Every aircraft capable of flying would join the battle, and they would carry new weapons. "This is not just a battle," Han told them. "This is a message. We are telling the galaxy that Earth is not easy prey, that humans do not surrender, that we will fight with everything we have." Delivered the first batch of pressure bombs just 3 hours before the attack. She had not tested them. There was no time. They would have to work on the first try or not at all. Loaded the weapons onto his fighter himself. He wanted to know every gram of weight, every angle of the design. His life would depend on this strange bomb. "How does it work?" he asked. She showed him the mechanism. When you hit their ship, the outer shell breaks. This releases the first burst of air. Then these chambers open one by one, sending more air into the breach. The whole process takes about 30 seconds. And that is enough to kill them. His face was hard. It will not be gentle, but yes, they will die. Looked at the weapon for a long moment. He had trained to fight other pilots, other aircraft. He had never imagined killing someone with air, but war did not care about imagination. War only cared about winning. Walked up beside him. Her own fighter was loaded and ready. "Scared?" she asked. "Terrified," he admitted. She smiled slightly. "Good. Scared pilots are careful pilots. It is the brave ones who get killed." The sun was setting when the squadrons launched. Fighters from every country rose into the sky, forming into attack groups. They climbed higher and higher, leaving the safety of Earth's thick atmosphere behind. Ahead of them, the cruisers were descending. Their plasma batteries were hot and ready. Their targeting systems were locking onto cities below. Commander watched from the command ship. He felt confident again. Yes, the humans had a strange advantage on the ground, but in the air, in space, they were unmatched. These primitive aircraft would be destroyed in seconds. He was wrong. The human pilots did not attack directly. They used their planet's atmosphere as a shield, diving into thick air where weapons had trouble tracking, rising suddenly to fire their missiles, dancing between layers of pressure that the aliens could not understand. Led his squadron toward the lead cruiser. Plasma fire filled the sky around him. He saw 2 of his pilots vanish in balls of flame, but he did not stop. He could not stop. He released his pressure bomb at close range. It struck the cruiser's airlock and stuck there, just as designed. Then the air began to flow. Inside the cruiser, alarms screamed. The ship's atmosphere was changing rapidly. Soldiers felt their bodies growing heavy, their shells beginning to crack. They tried to seal the breach, but the bomb kept releasing more and more air. One by one, the cruiser's crew collapsed. Their exoskeletons failed. Their spiracles flooded. Their screams echoed through the metal halls until there was no one left to scream. The cruiser fell from the sky, crashing into the empty ocean below. The battle had begun, and for the first time they were losing. The second cruiser tried to retreat. Its commander had watched the first ship fall and understood immediately what was happening. The humans had turned their terrible atmosphere into a weapon. Every ship in the fleet was now a target. But retreat was not easy. Human fighters swarmed around the cruiser like angry bees. They were small and fast, diving through layers of thick air that confused sensors. Every time the cruiser tried to climb toward the safety of space, another wave of fighters appeared. Pilot led her wing toward the cruiser's engine section. She had studied the alien ships for hours, memorizing every possible weak point. The engines needed cooling vents. Those vents were protected, but not designed to stop missiles. "Target the vents," she ordered her pilots. "One good hit will slow them down." She dove through a storm of plasma fire. The heat was so close she could feel it through her cockpit. One of her pilots disappeared in a flash of light. Another called out that his controls were damaged, then went silent. Did not look back. She could not afford to. Her missile struck the cooling vent perfectly. The explosion was small, but the effect was immediate. The cruiser's engines began to overheat. Its climb slowed, then stopped. Now it was trapped in Earth's atmosphere. Ground teams launched more pressure bombs from modified artillery. The bombs arced through the sky, some missing, some finding their targets. Each successful hit meant more Earth air flooding into alien ships. Each flood meant more dying in ways their evolution had never prepared them for. Commander watched from the command ship in high orbit. His fleet was dying. His warriors, the finest soldiers in 17 star systems, were being killed by nothing but air. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was happening. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Pull back to high orbit now." But his orders came too late for the third cruiser. Shin had led his remaining squadron in a final assault. They had lost half their numbers, but they had placed 5 pressure bombs on the cruiser's hull. The alien ship was dying slowly. Its internal atmosphere was now almost as heavy as Earth's surface. Soldiers stumbled through the corridors, their bodies breaking with every step. Some tried to reach escape pods, but their legs cracked before they could get there. Others sealed themselves in rooms, trying to maintain the thin air they needed, but the bombs kept releasing more and more pressure. The cruiser's captain, a veteran of many conquests, felt his chest plate splitting apart. He had conquered worlds. He had killed thousands, and now he was dying because he could not breathe. The ship's engines failed. It began to fall toward Earth, spinning slowly, a metal tomb for hundreds of warriors. Watched it crash into the mountains of central China. There would be no survivors. On the ground, people around the world were watching the battle on their screens. They saw the alien ships falling. They saw human pilots risking everything. They saw hope for the first time since they arrived. In Seoul, Defense Coordinator Park was managing the chaos. Reports came from everywhere at once. Ammunition supplies, pilot casualties, civilian evacuations. He had not sat down in 12 hours. "The main fleet is retreating," one of his officers reported. "They are pulling back beyond the atmosphere." Allowed himself a small moment of relief, but he knew the battle was not over. They still had their command ship. They still had weapons that could burn cities from space. This was only the beginning. His warning came true within the hour. Commander was done with careful tactics. He was done with plans and strategy. The humans had humiliated him. They had killed his warriors with something as simple as air. He would make them pay. "Prepare the command ship for atmospheric entry," he ordered. His officers looked at him with shock. "Commander," said carefully, "if we descend too low, our own crew will be at risk. The pressure." "I know the risks," snapped. "We will stay in our suits. We will seal all compartments. And we will destroy their capital city ourselves. No more sending cruisers. This time I will watch Seoul burn with my own eyes." The command ship was massive. It was as long as a small city, armed with weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations. When it began to descend, every alarm on Earth screamed at once. General Han received the news in his command center. His face went pale, then hard. "How long until it reaches firing range?" 20 minutes, reported, maybe less. 20 minutes. That was all the time Seoul had left. 20 minutes for millions of people to run, to hide, to pray. received new orders while still in the air. His squadron was damaged and tired. They had used all their pressure bombs, but they were the closest fighters to the descending command ship. "We need to slow it down," the general told him. "Buy time for evacuations. Do whatever you can." Whatever he could, looked at his controls. He had a few missiles left. His guns were almost empty, but his plane still worked. His engines still burned. He gathered his remaining pilots on the radio. There were only 7 of them left from the original 20. "You heard the general," he said. "We are going to slow that thing down." Hal asked. Her voice was tired but steady. Did not answer right away. He was looking at the massive ship ahead of them, a mountain of metal descending toward his home. "Any way we can." They attacked like mosquitoes against an elephant. Their missiles scratched the command ship's armor. Their guns left tiny marks that healed almost instantly. They barely noticed them. But they noticed when aimed for the communication arrays. The antennas were unarmored. They needed to send and receive signals clearly so they could not be covered in heavy metal. Used her last missile on the largest array. It exploded in a shower of sparks. Inside the command ship, lost contact with half his fleet. His orders could not reach them. Their reports could not reach him. It was a small victory, but it was something. The descent continued. The command ship was now low enough that Earth's air was pressing against its hull. The crew felt the pressure rising inside their sealed suits. Some of the younger warriors showed fear. Felt nothing. His hatred for the humans had burned away his fear. He would destroy their city even if it cost him his life. Defense batteries around Seoul opened fire. Missiles rose from hidden bunkers. Artillery shells exploded against the ship's shields. They barely slowed. Park watched the command ship growing larger in the sky. It blocked out the sun, casting a shadow over the city he had sworn to protect. "Evacuations?" he asked. "Still ongoing, maybe 60% complete." 60%? That meant millions of people were still in danger. Mothers, children, old people who could not move fast enough. Picked up the radio. "All units, focus fire on the plasma batteries. If we can stop them from shooting, we buy more time." The battle around Seoul became chaos. Fighters and missiles and shells filled the air. The command ship kept descending, slower now as it pushed through thicker atmosphere. Warning alarms inside the ship grew louder. Pressure indicators climbed toward dangerous levels. Flew through the storm of fire with empty weapons and a crazy idea. His plane was small. The command ship's hangar doors were large. What if he could get inside? It was suicide. He knew it was suicide. But his city was below him and his people were dying and he had nothing left to give except himself. He aimed his fighter at the main hangar door and pushed his engines to maximum speed. Saw what he was doing? No. He did not answer. He was already committed. The hangar doors were opening. Pilots were preparing their own fighters. They did not expect a human aircraft to fly directly at them. Released his empty missile pods. They flew through the open doors before him, creating confusion and small explosions. Then he followed them in. His plane crashed inside the hangar. The impact should have killed him. The fireball should have destroyed him. But somehow the cockpit held. Somehow he was alive. And the hangar doors were broken open. Earth's air rushed in. The hangar bay of the command ship became a death chamber in seconds. Earth's atmosphere poured through the broken doors like a flood. The pressure inside the bay tripled, then tripled again. Pilots who had been climbing into their fighters fell to the ground, their exoskeletons cracking under the invisible weight. Emergency doors tried to seal the hangar from the rest of the ship, but the damage was too great. The doors jammed halfway closed, leaving gaps that let more deadly air flow through. Shin crawled from the wreckage of his fighter. His body was broken. His legs would not work properly. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his head, but he was alive and he could see the chaos around him. Warriors were dying everywhere. Some tried to run, some tried to fight. But there was no enemy to shoot, no target to attack. Their enemy was the air itself. Pulled himself toward a control panel. He had studied technology during the brief preparation period. He could not read their language, but he recognized the symbols for power and engines and weapons. His hand found a lever and pulled. He had no idea what it would do. He hoped it would help. Alarms screamed throughout the command ship. The plasma batteries lost power. The engines stuttered and died. The massive vessel, already struggling against Earth's thick atmosphere, began to fall. Commander felt the ship shaking around him. His suit was holding the pressure at bay, but cracks were forming in the seals. He could feel the weight of Earth's air pushing against him. "Status report," he screamed into his communicator, but his communication arrays were destroyed. No one could hear him. The command ship tilted sideways. Officers and equipment slid across the bridge, grabbed a support beam to keep himself upright. Through the viewing window, he could see the ground rushing up to meet them. For the first time in his long life of conquest, Commander felt true terror. Outside the falling ship, watched with tears in her eyes. She knew was inside. She knew what he had sacrificed. She whispered into her radio, "If you can hear me, thank you. Thank you for everything." There was no response. The command ship crashed into the mountains east of Seoul. The impact was massive. The ground shook. A cloud of dust and debris rose into the sky, but the city was safe. The plasma batteries had never fired. Millions of lives had been saved by one pilot's sacrifice. The remaining ships fled. They did not wait for orders from their dead commander. They did not try to rescue survivors. They simply turned and ran toward the edge of the solar system, toward the darkness between stars where Earth's terrible atmosphere could not follow them. Intelligence officer intercepted their final transmission. It was a warning broadcast to the entire empire. "Earth is a death world," the transmission said. "Their atmosphere is poison. Their air is a weapon. Do not approach. Do not attempt conquest. The soft creatures of this world have defeated us. Avoid at all costs." Smiled slightly as she recorded the message. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever heard. In the days that followed, search teams explored the wreckage of the command ship. They found thousands of bodies, their exoskeletons shattered, their lives ended by nothing but air. They also found Shin. He was alive. The wreckage of his cockpit had created a small pocket that protected him during the crash. Rescue workers pulled him from the debris after 18 hours of searching. Both his legs were broken. His ribs were cracked, but he was breathing Earth's sweet, heavy air. Dr. Bay led the scientific teams that studied the alien technology. They found weapons beyond human understanding, engines that could cross between stars, computers that processed information faster than any human machine. But they also found weakness. Every system was designed for low pressure. Every seal, every joint, every connection assumed thin atmosphere. The mighty empire had never imagined a world like Earth. "They conquered thin worlds," explained to the council. "Worlds where the air is light and gravity is gentle. They never developed technology to fight in heavy atmospheres because they never needed to. Earth is unique." Doctor expanded on his findings. Her research had revealed something remarkable about human biology. "We are heavy," she said. "Our bones are dense. Our muscles are strong. Our lungs can handle pressure that would crush most species. We evolved at the bottom of an ocean of air, and we never knew how special that made us." Ambassador spoke at the United Nations 1 month after the battle. Leaders from every country sat before her, listening to words that would shape human history. "We did not defeat them with superior weapons," she said. "We did not win through greater numbers or better strategy. We won because our home made us strong in ways we never appreciated. Every breath we take is training. Every step we walk is exercise. We are the heavy ones. We are the pressure-born, and now the galaxy knows it. General Han established the first Terran defense fleet. The salvaged technology was adapted for human use, modified to work in thick atmospheres. Pilot training academies opened around the world. Humanity was preparing for a future among the stars. Shin was promoted to lead the pilot academy. He walked with a limp now, and he would never fly a fighter again. But his students hung on his every word. He had become a legend, the man who crashed his plane into an alien warship and lived to tell the story. Became his second in command. She taught young pilots how to use Earth's atmosphere as a weapon and a shield. She showed them how to dive through pressure layers, how to confuse alien sensors, how to fight in ways no other species could match. Engineer Moon continued developing weapons. Her pressure bombs became standard equipment for the defense fleet. She also created pressure suits that could keep humans safe in thin atmospheres, allowing them to fight on alien worlds. The species that had almost killed humanity would now learn to fear them. Years passed. Other species made contact with Earth. Some came as friends, amazed by the heavy who had defeated the mighty. They wanted to trade, to learn, to understand how such soft-looking creatures could be so deadly. Other species came as conquerors. They heard about Earth and thought the stories must be exaggerated. Surely no world could be that dangerous. Surely they had simply been unprepared. They learned the same lesson. Earth's atmosphere did not care about their pride. It crushed their exoskeletons. It flooded their spiracles. It proved, again and again, that this small blue world was the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. Park, the astronomer who first saw the fleet, now led the search for other civilizations. He scanned the stars every night looking for signals of life, but he was not scared anymore. Whatever was out there, humanity could face it. Because humans were not the weak, soft creatures the universe expected. They were forged in the crucible of Earth's heavy atmosphere. They were hardened by pressure that would kill most species in minutes. They were survivors. And they were just getting started. The galaxy had made a mistake when it looked at Earth and saw an easy target. The galaxy had learned that mistake the hard way. And in the years and centuries to come, whenever a species thought about invading the blue world, they remembered the warning. Earth was not a victim. Earth was a fortress. Earth was a trap disguised as a paradise. And its defenders had been trained by simply being born there. In the end, the empire did not fall because of human weapons or human bravery. It fell because they tested Earth's atmospheric pressure. And their exoskeletons collapsed.